and we have finance, and we have 101. So let's start with the finance as an industry. When you hear, for example, that so and so individual works in the finance industry, what does this mean? Forget about the Islamic one, just finance in general, as a career, as an industry, especially here in the US. Each and every single society does have a certain number of individuals and entities who do have extra fund, extra money, and they want to involve that money in a project or a business, okay, that brings them a profit. So they're looking for more money, and they are willing to offer that money. So this is the money supply, if you wish. Now, in return, well, on the other side, there are certain individuals and entities as well who are looking for more funding. They want, like someone wants to purchase a house, or to start a business, or to upgrade a business, or to take a loan to pay for the tuition fees, whatever the reason might be. So that's the demand. So there is a supply and there is a demand. Now, when the society is as big as the United States, then you are talking about millions of people between those who are willing to offer the money and those who are looking for the fund, right? So we need a third party or a mediator, right, or a platform to bring people together, those who want to offer the money and those who want to take that money. That is the exact job. That's the exact job of the Finance Institute. The Finance Institute is the one who brings the money from the money suppliers and give the money for those who are looking for fund. Now, based on what they take that money? They take the money for a certain return. Take the money for a certain return. Okay. If you are talking about like conventional finance system, those finance institutes, they borrow the money from the investors, for a certain percentage of interest, a certain APR, annual percentage rate. Let's say, for example, that they take the money for 5% APR. And they take that money, they turn around, they give it to those who are looking for funding, and they lend them that money for 9% APR. So they give 5% and they take 9%. How much is the difference? 4%. That is actually their revenue. That's their source of living. I mean, they make money from taking the money from the money suppliers, giving the money to those who are looking for fund, and they keep the difference for themselves. I mean, this is the very classical and traditional way of finance mechanism, if you wish, in each society. In a very technical term, there is a fund mobilization, collecting the fund from those who do have extra money, and there is a fund utilization, distributing the money, giving the money, for those who are looking for fund, and there is a fund intermediation, which is the job of the third party or the platform or the finance institute. Now, how do banks bring money? Okay, how do they offer money? From the investors. The investors actually go to banks and they open CD and they open a saving account for a certain percentage of interest. The bank takes that money some way, somehow, and give that money to those who are looking for fund, and they keep the difference for themselves. That is the finance in general as an industry. Now, the fund intermediation is the job of the third party, or the bank, or the mortgage company, or the finance institute, who brings money from one side and give it to the other side. Once you add to the term finance, you put an Islamic finance before it, then now you started zooming in and talking about a very specific finance system. It's not the classical one, it's not the riba one, no, it is the Islamic one. The Islamic one actually does have a lot of characteristics. When you hear the term Islamic finance, it should come to your mind, as you see here, that each and every single individual involved in this Islamic finance practice, whether you are the one who is giving the money, or the one who is taking the money, or the one who is managing, collecting, and refunding or redirecting the money, every single individual has to maintain the highest level of transparency and integrity. So no surprises down the road. No one can say, oh, you know what? No one told me that I will be responsible for a certain percentage of the loss. I did not know that. Well, every single detail, who is giving money and who is managing the system, and who is the sleeping partner, and who is the active partner. What will happen if one of the partners, wants to exit and just, quit from that business? What will happen if someone committed to a certain amount but he or she did not pay on time? What will happen if there is a profit? What will happen if there is a loss? All these what ifs with S have to be incorporated in a contract. So everybody knows from day one. There is a lot of transparency. Everybody knows who is doing what. Who is doing what. In the Islamic finance system, ethics and values are very essential and very uncompromisable. And I always say that permissibility overrides feasibility. Permissibility overrides feasibility. What does that mean? It means that in the Islamic finance system, we don't care about how profitable, how good, how feasible, how much money a certain business will be making, as long as the outcome result or the final product that we are getting together to make business is not a halal one, right? Anything related to winery, related to gambling, related to adult entertainment, anything that is explicitly haram in our deen, we cannot even sit down and talk, regardless of how much money we might be making. But because that particular business stands explicitly against the ethics and the principles of the Muslim community, we cannot sit down and talk business. Case dismissed from day one, as they say. Commoditization and asset-backed means that in the same way that you care about your best interest and you want to make money in a halal way, of course, okay, as an Islamic finance practitioner, if you wish, you need to care about the well-being, okay, the well-being and the welfare of the community at large. Do not get involved in business, even if that business is so-called halal, even if that business is so profitable, as long as you are not benefiting the community at large, you are not supposed to get involved there. For example, there are a lot of so-called financial instruments nowadays available in the stock market, okay, between stocks and derivatives and CDS and CDO and options and futures and so on and so forth. A certain percentage of those financial instruments are not backed up by any commodity or any merchandise or any service. Okay, it's just like a piece of paper that in order for you to maintain it active, you have to pay a premium, and that piece of paper is connected with an index or a portfolio or a group of companies. If they make money, you lose, and if they lose money, you make profit. Even with the assumption, just for discussion purposes, even with the assumption that this is a halal business, this is not the right way for you as a practicing Muslim to get involved in. You need to involve an actual real business. You need to produce something tangible, something beneficial. You need to add some value to the community. In the same way that you make profit, make sure that people around you are benefiting from the business that you are making. It goes without saying that the ban or the prohibition of interest is the most important characteristic in the Islamic finance system. You cannot borrow money with interest. You cannot lend money with interest. You cannot facilitate any interest-bearing transaction. You have to stay away from it. لعن الله آكل الربا وموكله وكاتبه وشاهديه وقالهم سوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is cursing the one who takes riba, consumes riba takes riba from other people, and the one, jazakallah khair, and the one who pays riba to other people, and the one who write down and facilitate the riba transaction, as well as the two witnesses. So every single individual involved in processing riba-based transaction is cursed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And to make it clear, وَقَالَهُمْ سَوَى, they are equal in sin. Why he said وَهُمْ سَوَى? Because some people nowadays think that borrowing money with interest is not as haram as lending money with interest, which is absolutely incorrect. You cannot lend money with interest without having another party who is willing to borrow from you that money with interest. So you facilitate for him committing the sin, he or she facilitates for you committing the sin. The only difference here is that there is no, to my knowledge, there is no scenario where you find yourself compelled or enforced to charge other people interest. Okay, I mean you don't have to. I mean you can get your money involved in a halal business and make halal profit. But certain circumstances might push you against your will to borrow money with interest. So you might be in a case of necessity to borrow money with interest. But there is no case of necessity where you have to lend money with interest. Someone is running out of resources. He or she wants to like purchase some food, for the family members, or pay the the rent for the apartment or the house, or to do a surgery for a family member, or to pay tuition fees, and he is running literally out of resources. Could not find any interest-free loan, and he's in desperate need for that money. Can he borrow money with interest? The answer is yes. فَمَنْ اضْطُرَّ فِي مَخْمَصَةٍ غَيْرَ مُتَجَانِفٍ لِإِثْمٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. So when there is a necessity, you can proceed with borrowing money with interest. But there is no scenario, to my knowledge, where you have to charge other people interest, or you have to lend money with interest. That's the only difference between borrowing money as opposed to lending money with interest. But when it comes to the level of sin, okay, according to the hadith, وَقَالَ هُمْ سَوَاء, they are equal in sin. Very interesting to know here that the prohibition or the ban of interest is not limited to Islam, by the way. We Muslims wholeheartedly believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did prohibit the Jewish community in the past from dealing with interest. And that's, by the way, not something that is mentioned in the Torah. No, it's in the Quran itself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Nisa was like criticizing certain Jewish community at a certain period of time. قال فبظلم من الذين هادوا حرمنا عليهم طيبات أحلت لهم وبصدهم عن سبيل الله كثيرا. And then what did he say? قال وأخذهم الربا وقد نهوا عنه. Thank you. وأخذهم الربا, they used to transact and deal with interest while they were prohibited from doing so. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran that we recite day and night is the one who's telling us that the Jewish community were prohibited from dealing with interest, period. When it comes to Christianity, we do not have certain clear indication in the Quran, but if you refer to the Bible, I know that we have like a big question mark regarding the authenticity of the so-called Bible that people refer to nowadays. But forget about that authenticity issue. Just grab any copy of the Bible and start reading randomly. You will come across several verses either by Isa alayhi salatu wasalam or by the disciples, al-Hawariyin, where they were explicitly prohibiting their followers from dealing with interest. So can you see the consistency here and the pattern? Riba was prohibited in Judaism. Riba was prohibited in Christianity. Riba is prohibited in Islam and will continue being prohibited all the way until the Day of Judgment. That is what we believe in, that there is a lot of consistency and harmony between Islam from one side, Christianity and Judaism from the other side. And riba actually will continue being prohibited all the way until the Day of Judgment. Based on that, if you feel more comfortable calling this system that we are discussing tonight, you want to call it Jewish finance system, go for it. You want to call it Christian finance system, go for it. I mean, you are absolutely correct. Yani, honestly, I'm not a big fan of calling it Islamic finance, because it's not only Islamic. It is a Jewish, it is a divine law, it is a Christian finance system. I mean, this is what we believe in. So this is actually what I mean by adding Islamic to the term finance. We all believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set this deen as a comprehensive way of life for all of us. Okay, there is a ritual system where you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, salah, siyam, and hajj and zakah, and there is a social system, and there is an economic system, and there is a military system, right? And as well as there is a finance system. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually is interfering and giving us some guidelines and restrictions on how to transact and how to buy and how to sell when it comes to business transaction. Now that's the Islamic finance. If you add after the Islamic finance 101, I mean that I'm not here tonight in this very short presentation to discuss all technical, tiny details when it comes to Islamic finance. I mean, this is a This is like a whole discipline. We have tens of subjects under the term Islamic finance. If someone is interested, as I said today in the khutbah, maybe you can join Guidance College for Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance. So tonight, inshallah, we are not here to discuss every single tiny detail, right? Just to throw some light and try to unlock the secret of Islamic finance, if you wish. For example, if we concluded tonight that conventional mortgage is not a halal option, we are not here tonight to discuss, the legitimacy or the soundness or the level of permissibility of La Riba mortgage company or Ijara loan or Guidance Residential or Devon Bank or Mubarak mortgage. This is something not 101. This is maybe 400 or 500 level Islamic finance. So all these technical, tiny details are not to be included in our discussion tonight. My purpose, actually, I will do my best, inshallah, to make it clear, like when you go home and your maybe like family member or your spouse asks you a question, what did you learn today? You should be able to give him or her like a very brief answer that Islamic finance is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. Any further and more details, inshallah, could be discussed later on. We all believe that riba is prohibited, and sometimes we get confused when it comes to the definition of riba. Sometimes you attempt to educate yourself, right, to read more about riba, and you go to those classical, collections of fiqh, maybe عمدة السالك وعدة الناسك في الفقه الشافعي, maybe المغني لابن قدامة, maybe بداية المجتهد لابن رشد الحفيد, and you start reading. You go to the chapter كتاب الربا, and you start reading. Down the road while reading, you will be getting more and more confused. You will come across examples that are really, really confusing. Exchanging maybe barley for wheat, or exchanging tamar or date fruit for date fruit, exchanging مش عارف sugar for rice, and you start like scratching your head and ask a question: is this the riba that we are discussing, Muslims living in the USA in 2025? My answer is no, absolutely no. All these examples, like exchanging barley for wheat and so forth, all those are very authentic examples. Do not get me wrong. But the vast majority of those examples are very outdated examples. Muslims in this society here in 2025 do not exchange barley for wheat or rice for sugar or date fruit for date fruit. If you want to make an order, you just grab your iPhone, you go to that Instacart and make an order. 1 or 2 hours, you will find the order like dropped in front of your house. And sometimes you use your debit card, your credit card, sometimes even use your cryptocurrency to pay for the order. So all these examples are very authentic, but they are very outdated examples. Forget about those scary names that you come across in those classical fiqh books. ربا الفضل, ربا النساء, ربا النسيئة, ربا الجاهلية, ربا النقود. Okay, very big and very scary names. Forget about all these different names and just focus on one and only one category of riba, which is this one, the one that you see here. So from now on, whenever I say interest, or I say riba, or I say usury, or usury, it is the same. By the way, some people do differentiate between usury and interest. There is no difference. Interest is riba, riba is usury, usury is interest. So they could be used interchangeably. So from now on, whenever I use the term riba or interest or usury, I refer to this very particular category of riba. And as you see here, it is the premium that has to be paid, must be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount, either as a condition for the loan or for an extension in its maturity. One more time, the premium that must be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount, either as a condition for the loan or for the extension in its maturity. And for simplicity purposes, I want to just to drop the very last sentence, or for an extension its maturity, just forget about, focus on the rest of the definition. If you pay more attention to this definition, how many parties involved here? How many like transacting parties involved? Only two. We have a borrower and we have a lender. Is that correct? So this is actually to make it clear from day one that there is no partnership, that there is no partnership between the one who gives the money and the one who takes the money, right? It's exclusively borrower and lender. Someone is lending money, and when you say lending the money with interest, because actually how many levels of money we have here? We have also two. We have the premium and we have the principal. We have the premium, okay, the premium or the surplus or the premium, as well as the principal amount. What does that mean? It means, for example, nowadays you go to Bank of America or Chase or Capital One or Wells Fargo, whatever. You apply for $100,000 loan. Could be student loan, could be construction loan, business loan, personal loan, investment, whatever the category might be. If your application is approved for 5% APR, for example, APR stands for annual percentage rate. Is that correct? And if you decide to proceed and you take that money for one complete year, it means that the total you have to pay to the bank is 105. 100,000 is the principal, $5,000 is the interest, right? Now, if you decide to keep that money, let's say for 3 years, total is 115. 100 principal, $15,000 interest. Okay, it indicates clearly from day one that the bank is not responsible about the outcome result of that loan, even if it is a commercial, like loan or business loan or investment loan. The bank actually does not care about how do you handle the money, whether you make a profit or you just break even or you incur loss. Honestly, the bank does not care. The bank is just sitting relaxing like this, waiting for the principal and for the premium on top of it, okay, toward the end of the or upon the maturity of the loan. There is no partnership, and consequently there is no liability or risk taken by the bank. And this is actually a very fundamental difference between the Islamic finance and the non-Islamic finance. In a very technical term, we call this model of finance, we call it risk shifting model. Risk shifting model, in a sense that the bank is shifting all the risk from its shoulder and putting it on your shoulder. Here is your money, you are by your own. You go, like, put it in a business, you make a profit, you break even, you incur loss, you pass out, you pass away, you run out of business, you go bankruptcy. We don't care. By the law of the land, by the FDIC, they can just go after you in the court and ask for the principal and ask for the premium on top of it. And maybe you can sense from now, okay, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is prohibiting riba. Because of the exploitation, because of the financial exploitation and the dhulm that is involved whenever riba is implemented in any finance system. So we have two different categories of money. We have the premium or the extra or the surplus, which is the riba, and we have the principal, right? And we have the borrower and the lender. Borrower and the lender. Now, when I say as a condition for the loan, means that you cannot avoid paying interest. Okay, someone went to Bank of America and applied for $100,000 loan, and then upon approval, he told the loan officer that I'm a practicing Muslim, I do not pay interest. Would it be possible to give me $100,000 interest-free loan, like for 5 years, right? So the loan officer started laughing at him and said, well, we're not a charity organization here. We're not giving money for free. So if you want to take the money, you have to commit yourself and sign some paperwork and promissory note that you have to pay the 5% APR. Go to your masjid and ask for free money. We are not giving money here for free. So this is what I mean by as a condition for the loan. Condition for the loan, that you have to commit, you have to pre-commit even before taking the money, that yes, I am willing to pay you guys 5% APR. If I'm to keep the money for 1 year, that's $5,000. If it is 10 years, that's $50,000, and you do the math. So from now on, again, whenever I say riba, I do actually refer to this very particular category. The good news here is that this level of riba is agreed upon its prohibition. Whether you follow the Hanafi madhab or the Maliki or the Shafi'i or the Hanbali, or you call yourself Ahlul Hadith or Salafi or Sufi, it does not make any difference. All four different madhab are in agreement that riba al-jahiliyyah, this is actually the most explicit and the most severe level of riba. And again, its prohibition is something that's agreed upon. There is no difference between the madhab regarding the prohibition of this kind of riba. Sometimes they call it riba al-jahiliyyah,
Sometimes they call it riba diyun. Forget about those names. Just focus on the concept itself. It is the premium that has to be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount as a condition for the loan. In a very simple word, it is the interest-bearing loan. You take money for a certain return that has to be paid on top of that principal, right? While the bank is not partnering with you. So if you incur loss, if you make a profit, if you break even, whatever happened to you, the bank does not care about the outcome result. You have to commit yourself to paying the principal and paying the premium on top of the principal. So that's riba. That is the meaning of riba. As I said, it's a risk-shifting finance. Someone is taking all the risk and all the liability, and somebody else is not taking any liability. The bank is sitting, relaxing, we're just waiting for the money to be paid back. And this is actually very, very unfair, okay, as I will be explaining. So no risk, no partnership, no liability is taken by the bank. All the risk and liability is taken by the borrower. Now, what kind of challenge we Muslims face in this society here? Muslims living in USA in 2025. I don't think it's whether or not riba is haram. Everybody knows that riba. Even our non-Muslim, fellow Americans know that practicing Muslims are not supposed to deal with interest. Is that correct? So the prohibition of riba is something that's agreed upon. And now, alhamdulillah, the definition of riba is clear for us. It is the premium that has to be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount as a condition for the loan, period. Right? What kind of challenge we are facing here? Challenge, in my opinion, is the discrepancy between what we read in the classical books, especially when you attempt to educate yourself, like by yourself, right? As opposed to the actual real daily transactions that you get involved in. Okay, in the day-to-day transaction, you come across certain charges. Sometimes you charge others, and sometimes you get charged by others. Take, for example, here. How about the penalty clause? Especially like when there is a construction agreement or contract, right? And if the contractor did not submit the key on time, you charge him or her what is called the penalty clause, right? Because you did not submit the house on time, I'm going to charge you $500 every day. Is the penalty clause riba or not? We need to know here. How about the overdraft charge? When you overuse your debit card without having sufficient fund, right? And you pay way more than what you have already took from the bank. Is the overdraft charge riba or not? How about late fees? Each and every single utility bill that you receive electronically or like paper, copy, does have a due date. Is that correct? What will happen if you did not pay that utility bill on time before the due date? You have to pay what's called late fees. Okay, is the late fees haram or halal? Is it riba or not? How about dividend if you have any business to do in the stock market, right? You open a simple investment account or brokerage account or IRA or 401k or whatever, and you make dividend. Is the dividend haram or is it riba or not? How about profit when you make any business? Likewise, commission. Sometimes like you do a job for a certain commission to pay or certain commission to receive. How about the term interest? Okay, it's a very confusing that sometimes you come across charges that they're called interest. Okay, for example, last year, I live in Houston, Texas. There is a bank there. They call it regional bank. It's not a national one. Called Regions with S. Okay, they gave me a very special offer. They said if you open a checking account with us, we're gonna deposit for you $400 like a gift. And I said, yeah, sure, why not? So I opened a checking account. They deposited $400 for me. Free money, $400. Toward the end of the year, they sent me a 1099 form with $400 interest. $400 interest. Okay, whatever they call it interest, is it interest in my, like according to my definition or not? This is actually a part of the confusion that we face in this society. Okay, you might look at it as an interest, you might believe otherwise, but this is just like an example, okay, to show you the discrepancy and the confusion that's caused by by certain charges that you come across in the day-to-day transaction, as opposed to the religious terms and terminology that you read in the classical fiqh books. ربا الفضل, ربا النساء, ربا النسيئة, ربا الديون, ربا الجاهلية, ربا الطعام, ربا, and so on and so forth. So we have dividend, we have profit, we have overdraft charge, we have late fees, we have commission. Okay, we have cash back, like when you use your credit card and you use some like you use it and you receive some cash back. Okay, is that money that you receive haram, or is it riba or not? Example actually go on and on. Fine, compensation, honorarium when you do a certain job, service fees, equity, shares, and so on and so forth. This is actually the genesis of the problem or the challenge. Okay, you read something in the books and you come across certain charges, right, in the real life, and you do not know which one of those charges is the actual riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited, so to stay away from, and which one actually is called riba, but actually it is not, so you can conduct it safely without having a sense of guilt because you're not doing anything haram. Okay, like receiving $400 gift when you open a checking account. So that is the the challenge that we face. We just like mentioned here that riba is when someone gives money and looking for the principal to be guaranteed, so he or she is not sharing any risk or liability with the recipient of the money, and on top of that he's asking for a certain premium to be paid on top of the principal. So the principal is guaranteed and the return on top of the principal is guaranteed as well. Are you catching up with me? So far so good? Right. Now, connecting like this concept with the challenge that we face here, if you come across any business opportunity, any contract, okay, any partnership, any agreement, right, any transaction where it's proven that someone is giving money to somebody else and the money giver, okay, or the financier, or call him whatever you want, the one who gives the money is not taking any liability or any risk whatsoever, right? And on top of that, he's asking for a certain return on top of the principal. That is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. Whether it is called riba or it's called otherwise, we don't care. Back home in Jordan, you have a very prevailing and common mistake. Okay, a businessman would accept cash money from his friend, from his neighbor. Here is 100,000, Jordanian dinars, and we are partners. And the money giver or the financier calls himself Sharik Mdharib. Is that correct? So he gives that money, 100,000 Jordanian dinar, and he says, listen, here is my contribution, we are partners. Because we are partners, I want you to pay me 500 Jordanian dinars every single month. That's my share of the profit. Are you okay with that? And the other guy will say, yes, I'm okay. And they think that they are doing a wonderful job, and they are doing a horrible job. What they are doing actually is absolutely haram. Do you know why? Because the financier actually is asking for a certain, a fixed amount to be given to him on a monthly basis, right? That's absolute interest. Not only that, okay, toward the end of the fiscal year or the business course, whatever, he's asking for the principal to be paid back. So here is my money, right? Here is my money. Use it the way that you want. Give me certain quote unquote profit every single month or every single year. Well, that's the exact riba. You are lending your money to the other party, although you think that you are a partner, but you are not. We just mentioned just few seconds ago that if the principal is guaranteed and the return on top of it is guaranteed, that's the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. In this very particular scenario, if you want to do it in a halal way, you go with the mudaraba mode of finance. What does mudaraba mean? Trustee partnership. Okay, I have $100,000. Based on my math and assessment, your business value is $1 million. So I'm gonna give you $100,000 in order for me to be entitled to get 5% or 7%, whatever you agree upon, or 10% from the net profit of the business, not as a certain percentage of the principal. Be careful. Okay, as a net profit from your business, the car dealership you have or whatever, or construction company, whatever, I'm entitled to get 5% of the net profit every year. Okay? Are you okay with that? If the other party says, yes, I'm okay with that, that's the mudaraba. And consequently, by the way, if there is a profit, okay, the one who gives the money, which is me in this example, I will be getting 5% of the net profit, not the gross profit of that business. Like after deducting all the overhead expenses, the maintenance and tax and insurance and payroll and you name it, right? Whatever is left over is the net profit. I should be entitled to get 5%, whatever we agree upon. What if there was no profit? We barely just break even. Well, there is no profit for me. So toward the end of the business, I should just take my principal and just ma'as salama, go home. Worst case scenario, inshallah. Worst case scenario. Something happened, and my business partner did not make a profit. He was even unable to maintain the principal. Act of God, as this, something happened like COVID-19, whatever. There was no mismanagement, there was no embezzlement, there was no negligence, nothing wrong from his side. But qada Allah Azza wa Jal wa qadaruhu, there was a lot of loss. And he was unable to maintain, and to save my principal. Well, believe it or not, I cannot go after him and ask for my principal. I have to share the loss with him. If I gave him $100,000 and he gave me $70,000, I lost $30,000. Well, I have to take the $70,000 and just go home before the rest of the money is gone. So that's the mudaraba, and that's the profit sharing. The risk sharing model, as opposed to risk shifting one. Risk shifting is the haram one, is the riba one. Risk sharing actually is the halal one, is the Islamic one. So our job here is to unlock the secret of those contemporary transactions by just asking a very simple question. Okay, is it proven that someone is giving money and asking for the principal to be guaranteed, paid back, and asking for the premium on top of the principal to be guaranteed? If the answer is yes, then that mu'amala, that transaction is riba. You know what? Even if the profit is not guaranteed, but the principal is guaranteed, that's still riba. Because as we say, like back home, tijara ribhu khasara. You give your money, you indulge, you involve your money in a business, you just wait for the outcome result. If there is a profit, khair wa barak, alhamdulillah, take your money, jazakallah khair. But if there is no profit, you cannot ask for profit. Well, not to mention if there is a loss, you cannot even guarantee your principal. This is actually the risk sharing model that we Muslims actually believe in, right? So our job here is to unlock the secret of those contemporary transactions by just asking a very simple question. Is it proven that someone is giving money, without taking any liability, any risk, and asks for a certain return on top of the principal that he gave? If the answer is yes, that particular transaction is not a halal one. And again, we don't care about names. That charge could be called interest, commission, profit, penalty. We don't care. This is a Starbucks cup. What is inside actually is tea. If it is coffee from Starbucks, I would kindly refrain from drinking it, because those guys support Israel, and I hate those companies who support Israel, right? But what is inside here is the tea. Wallahi, I'm not lying. That's why I'm drinking it. My point here is that the fact that I have tea inside a Starbucks coffee does not make it coffee. It's still a tea, right? Likewise, if I'm to go to a bank, just for discussion purposes, and I borrowed already $100,000 interest-bearing loan. The loan officer somehow was able to manage, asking me to sign, instead of signing promissory note, he just removed the term promissory note and he called it aqd mudaraba or musharaka or murabaha. Would that make it halal? It's still haram. It's still an interest-bearing loan. Likewise, in a certain transaction, if someone is giving principal guaranteed and looking for a guaranteed return on top of the principal, this actually does not make that transaction halal if it is called profit or if it is called dividend. It's still haram. And this actually should bring to our attention a very well-established قاعدة فقهية or legal maxim. Okay, it goes العبرة في العقود. العبرة في العقود للمقاصد والمعاني لا للألفاظ والمباني. What matters in transactions is the essence and reality, not the wording or the formality. We don't care about the names. We care about the essence and the genesis and the reality of the transaction. Another example, certain, without mentioning names, certain so-called Islamic mortgage companies in the USA, they try to like impress the Muslim community by using big names. Oh, now we go with the إجارة ودeclining partnership ومضاربة ومشاركة وملك العين واستثناء الرقبة والعين. They come up with like big names, so everybody would say, wow, okay, like they know Islamic finance. Wallahi, with all due respect, they do not even know what are they talking about. Just to grab their contract and read, okay? Just open the contract that they call it musharaka or mudaraba or ijara and read. You will easily conclude that those people actually are not taking any risk whatsoever. You call this contract declining partnership, and then you ask me to take care of the maintenance and the tax and the insurance and the appreciation and the depreciation and the natural disaster and eminent domain and for like I'm responsible for everything, and you still call yourself a partner. What kind of partnership you are talking about? So we don't care about those names. Okay? Do not call it mushara. You know what? Call it interest-bearing loan, but show me that you are like taking certain percentage of the risk, and I will give you a fatwa that this transaction is halal, because what I care about is the essence and the reality of the deal, and not the wording or the formality. So remember, from now on, we don't care about the names. Okay, we are not silly. Excuse me all. Okay, what we care about is the essence and the reality and the genesis of the deal. Okay, if you give others money and you are not taking any risk, that's an interest-bearing loan, even if you prefer to call it murabaha or musharaka or ijara. العبرة في العقود للمقاصد والمعاني لا للألفاظ والمباني. What matters in transactions, what we care about, is the essence and reality, not the wording or the formality. Moving on. Let's take some like practical examples, okay, or case studies, and try together to unlock the secret, okay, of Islamic finance, as they say. Do you think that opening saving account is halal, or do you think it's haram? Do not answer. I want you just to pause and think. Okay, if it is halal, why it's halal, and if it is haram, why it's haram. Before I give you the answer, I do have $100,000 cash, right? And I told my brother Sammy, here is $100,000. Take it, okay? And by the end of 2026, you need to pay me back $105,000. What do you call this deal between me and brother Sammy? Interest-bearing loan. Okay. Last moment I changed my mind. Said, okay, you know what? I'm not giving you the money. I went to Bank of America and I opened a saving account. Okay? Open a saving account. And by the contract or the agreement that I signed online or in person, okay, upon opening the saving account, they have to pay me back $105,000 by the end of 2026. By the FDIC, by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, I can go after them and ask for 105. Is there any difference between me giving interest-bearing loan to Brother Sammy, okay, as one scenario, as opposed to opening a saving account? Is there any difference? 100 to be paid back, 105. 100, to be paid back, 105. What is the difference? There is no difference whatsoever. So believe it or not, opening a saving account is an interest-bearing loan where you act as the lender and the bank is the borrower. Someone actually here is confused, would say, oh, hold on. Do you want to tell me that you, the one who has only $100,000, you lend your money to Bank of America, the bank that has hundreds of millions of billions of trillions of dollars? My answer is yes. Absolutely yes. I don't care about who has more and who has less. What I care about is the essence and the reality. Remember, العبرة في العقود للمقاصد والمعاني لا للألفاظ والمباني. We don't care who has more money and who has less. What you care about is the nature of the agreement. I'm giving my money to Bank of America, and again, by the FDIC, they have to pay me back $105,000 within, like from now until the end of 2026. That's an interest-bearing loan. I'm lending my money to Bank of America. So, based on that, opening a saving account is not a halal option, period. Now, what is the alternative? That's completely different subjects. We do have a lot of alternatives, alhamdulillah, halal. But this is not, again, this is not Islamic Finance 101. I'm here just the bad guy to, like pinpoint certain transaction and just give a fatwa that this is haram, stay away from it. How about overdraft charge? Overdraft charge. What does mean overdraft charge? It means, for example, that you have, let's say, $700 available in your debit card. Your debit card is connected to your checking account. So you are not borrowing money, you are using your money. Am I correct? So you have only $700 available balance in your checking account or your debit card. You stopped by a point of sale to purchase a phone for $900. And fortunately or unfortunately, the transaction went through and you purchased a phone for $900. While you have how much in your bank account? Are you catching up here? After a few days, when you checked your online statement, okay, you found out that, oh, you have to pay the bank $200, and on top of that, there is $50 overdraft charge. It's not interest, it's not riba, no. It's overdraft charge. Do you think that overdraft charge is riba or not? Do not answer. Do not answer. I want you just to pause and think about it, okay? Just think about it. What's going on here? What does this mean for you when you have only $700 and you purchase an item for $900? Okay, it means that the bank, okay, the bank actually has paid on your behalf $200. Is that correct? Do you have to pay those $200 back or not? Then this is the loan. Is that correct? Okay. What's that? Inshallah, just be patient with me. So the bank actually paid on your behalf $200. Is that correct? Now, do you have to pay the bank $200? يعني do you think that the bank is giving you $200 like مشان سواد عيونك يعني هدية مثلا لوجه الله مثلا? No, you have to pay it back $200. If the only thing you need to pay back is $200, then this is a interest-free loan. You borrowed $200, you paid it back $200. If the bank is asking for any cent, any dollar on top of the $200, by default, that extra money is riba. Because the bank is lending you 200 and taking back from you how much? 250. Now you can make a very good argument here by saying, no, this is not riba. This is a very irregular transaction. Okay, you did not have sufficient fund, so the bank has to process or had to process $200, and then he had to go back after you and ask for the 200. Okay, and because of the overhead, expenses and the hands-on work, okay, they ask you to pay $50 extra. That's a very good argument. Okay, and believe it or not, the late fees could be justified. Okay, but my point here is that the default is that late fees is riba unless otherwise proven. That late fees is riba unless otherwise proven, and otherwise could be proven. Otherwise could be proven. I will open, inshallah, the floor for question and answer. Don't worry. طيب. Let's take a home mortgage. So far, saving account is not halal. Overdraft charge is not halal. So the recommendation here, check your balance before you do any transaction. If you do have sufficient fund, go for it. If not, then mid al-havak aqad dijrek, as we say. Moving on. Home mortgage. Do you think that mortgaging a house in a very classical way in the US is a halal option or a haram option? Again, do not answer. I want you just to pause and think about, try to unlock the secret of the transaction. That's our job tonight, is to unlock the secret of those contemporary transactions. Okay, before you say no, it's halal, or no, it's haram. Okay, how many segments we have in the mortgage process? Okay, there is a house nearby, and the guy is asking, the landlord is asking for $1 million. Is this the average price nowadays, post-COVID, 1 million. So the guy's asking for $1 million. And I do not have 1 million, right? So I applied for a mortgage. And the mortgage company approved my application, and they paid $1 million on my behalf to the landlord, right? And based on the contract, I have to pay them back $1.3 million within the next 30 years. Thank you. Within the next 30 years. And in order for the mortgage company to secure their fund, right, they put a lien on the property. They quote unquote, they mortgage the property. So you're talking about three different segments here. There is a sale agreement, عقد بيع, sale agreement, that you purchase the house from the landlord. And there is a loan agreement, you borrowed $1 million, okay, to be paid back $1.3 million within the next 30 years, right? And there is a mortgage agreement where the mortgage company is taking a measure to secure their fund. They mortgage the property. We do not have any issue from a pure Islamic perspective. We do not have any issue with the sale agreement, right? وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ حَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. We do not have any issue with the mortgage agreement, believe it or not. Mortgage, according to the Quranic terminology, is the collateralized or the secured loan, right? وَإِن كُنتُمْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ وَلَمْ تَجِدُوا كَاتِبًا فَرِهَانٌ مَقْبُوضٌ. وإن كنتم على سفر ولم تجدوا كاتبا فرهان مقبوض. الرهان is الرهن. الرهن is the mortgage. What does the ayah mean? Okay, the overall meaning of the ayah. If you as a lender want to offer your money, okay, as a secured loan, go for it. For example, someone from the community that I do not know well approached me and asked for, let's say, $100 loan, and I'm not that confident with him. So I asked him to give me his phone or his car or whatever as a collateral, right? As a collateral. Give me your phone. I'm going to keep it with me until you come back tomorrow and give me the money back. Once you pay me the $100, I will give you your phone back. Okay? That's the exact meaning of الرهن. And الرهن actually is halal. That's the meaning of the ayah. وَإِن كُنتُمْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ وَلَمْ تَجِدُوا كَاتِبًا فَرِهَانٌ مَقْبُوضٌ. So we do not have an issue with the mortgage agreement as someone is giving secured loan, and we do not have any issue with the sale agreement. But we do have a big concern when it comes to the loan agreement. Okay, the mortgage company is paying $1 million on your behalf to the landlord, and you have to pay it back 1 point something, 1.3. That extra money actually is riba. Someone might be confused here, saying, oh, no, hold on. The mortgage company is the owner of the house. Okay, nice try, wrong answer. The mortgage company actually is the lien holder and not the owner. And that's why when it comes to maintenance and tax and insurance, who takes care of the property? Who maintains the property? Is it you or the mortgage company? You take care of it. If there is any appreciation or depreciation, who takes the profit and who incurs the loss? That's you. Right? If there is any act of God or natural disaster or whatever, you are fully responsible for everything. So the fact that you see the name of the mortgage company, right, on the deed of trust as a lender does not make them, or as a lien holder, does not make them the owner of the house. You are the owner. If you check the deed of trust, you will see 2 or 3 parties: the obliger, which is you, the victim or the customer. And there is a lender and the lien holder, which is the mortgage company, and the title company who just holds that deed of trust until the principal and the profit or the interest actually is paid back, right? So mortgage agreement is halal, sale agreement is halal, loan agreement is not halal. Now we have 2 different components are halal, and one of them actually is haram. In the Islamic finance system, if it is proven that one segment of the whole deal is explicitly haram, that would be way more than enough to make the whole deal a haram one. So the conclusion here is that mortgaging a house in a very classical way, very conventional way, is not a halal option. Now what Shaykh al-Qaradawi rahmatullah alayhi said a few decades ago, okay, that's completely out of our discussion here. All Majlis Europe al-Ifta said that you can take a loan for one time for a residential. That's completely different discussion. We are here just Islamic finance 101, like to establish rules that the default rule is that mortgaging a house in a very classical way in the USA is not a halal option.
Is there any way to make it halal through these processes?
If you make it instead of like risk shifting, if you make it risk sharing one, that would be fine. And there are different ways of doing it. Okay, maybe the most effective way and the most Sharia compliant way is what is called the declining partnership, where the company has to purchase the house jointly with you. Okay, and they have to put their name on the deed of trust, and they have to take care proportionally of the maintenance and tax and insurance. And they can charge you whatever they want, but they have to own the property, and they have to prove that they are subject to risk. If there is appreciation, depreciation, whatever expenses, they share those expenses with you. If that is proven, that's the Islamic way. And this is actually what so-called Islamic banks in the Middle East do, if they do it, the proper way. Moving on. How about cashback? Cashback. Do you think that the cashback that you receive through your credit card, is it riba or not? Again, before you answer the question, think about it. Who is benefiting from the cashback? Is it the lender or the borrower? There is a qaida here. There is like a fiqh maxim here. كل قرض جر نفعا مشروطا للمقرض فهو ربا. كل قرض جر نفعا مشروطا للمقرض فهو ربا. Each and every loan that brings a stipulated benefit to the lender will be counted as interest. Okay. طيب, before you answer this question, if I have $100 to give it to my brother here, what's your name, akhi? Mahmoud. So I give Mahmoud $100 and tell him, listen, by the end of 2025 you pay me 105. What do you call it, Mahmoud? Interest bearing loan, riba. If I'm to give you $100 and ask you to pay me back $100 only by the end of 2025, what do you call it? That is qardun hasan, interest-free loan. If I'm to give you $100 and ask you to pay me back $95, do you still think that is riba? يلا يا محمود حك لي راسك ها. I give you 100 and ask you to pay me back 95. That's the opposite of riba. Do you know why, Mahmoud? Because the one who is benefiting here is not me, the lender. It is you, the borrower. That's completely the opposite of riba. If I'm to give you 100 to be paid back 105, that's riba. 100 to be paid back 100, that is qardun hasan, interest-free loan. 100 to be paid back 95, that is the opposite of riba. That's exactly what happened when it comes to cashback. When you receive a cashback, right, it means that you have used your credit card, not your debit card. Am I correct? And when you use your credit card, you are borrowing money. So all the rules and the restrictions and the guidelines of the loan agreements are to be implemented here. Does that make sense? So you borrow money from the credit card company, $100. And they do like a kind of promotion to attract more customers, to compete with other companies. They tell you, listen, if you use my credit card for $100, you purchase items, you pay bills, do whatever you want, okay? I will, of course, you have to pay me back 100 within 1 month, but I will pay you back again $5, for example. So you end up by Mahmoud that you borrowed 100 and you paid back how much? 95. So cashback is the absolute opposite of riba, and it is halal. And if you do have like any cashback money and you are not like comfortable with the money, just give it to me, Mahmoud. I'll be inshallah more than happy to take it.
Provided that you pay on the time. So
Yes, that's completely different. Yeah, different discussion. طيب. Do you think you can give me? طيب. Who's willing to stay after Isha here? After Isha, and I get my coffee, I get my dinner, so I can just stay until I have a red-eye flight, so I have to be in the airport around maybe 11 o'clock or even before 11. So we can inshallah stay after Isha, inshallah. طيب, let me finish inshallah and open the floor after Isha inshallah. Okay, Owner finance with interest. Owner finance with interest. Okay. ومثاله, example. You want to okay, your non-Muslim neighbor, okay, has a car for sale. He's asking for $10,000. John Smith, okay, and you told him, I'm very interested in your car, but I do not have 10,000 cash. Can you make an installment for me? He said, yes, why not? So he just grabbed his phone and started doing the math. He said, listen, this car will be for $12,000 for 1 year installment. And he insisted in putting in the contract $10,000 price plus $2,000 interest. And he mentioned the term interest. Do you think that going with $12,000 installment sale for 1 year would make those extra $2,000 interest? Do not answer. طيب. You know what? Let's just survey the key. If you think that paying $12,000 in 1 year, okay, those $2,000 will be counted as an interest, raise your hand. طيب. If you think that those $2,000 are not riba, raise your hand. Some brothers did not raise their hand either. Like they are very neutral. طيب. Let me just confuse you more. How about that? Okay. Instead of doing like in-house finance with John Smith, you told them, listen, wait. And you went to Bank of America, Bad of America as they call it, and you borrowed $10,000. And you paid John Smith $10,000 cash. You took the car, but you paid in return $12,000 to Bank of America within 1 year. Do you think that the first scenario, haram and halal wise, is equivalent to the second scenario? If you think they are the same, raise your hand. Okay. If you think they are not the same, so the first one is halal, the second one is haram, raise your hand. Okay. طيب, here is the answer. طيب. Okay. If the market value of the car is $10,000, can he ask for $12,000 cash? Yes. Why not? Okay. There is a lot of transparency in the market in the US, by the way. You go to kbb.com or to CarMax, you enter the specification of the car, you see the market value. And even the website for free gives you 3 different prices, wholesale, مش عارف retail. So there is a lot of transparency. If the market value is 10,000 and he, John Smith, can ask for $12,000 cash, like spot sale, why cannot he break down that $12,000 into 1 year? You see the argument here? So those $2,000, okay, are called the time value. Are called the time value. This is one of the very, very few cases where the Islamic finance system does acknowledge in a halal way, does acknowledge the time value. Okay, sometimes they call it the opportunity cost in economics. Opportunity cost in a sense that if John Smith has decided, okay, to turn down your offer and he sold that car for $10,000 cash for somebody else, he would have been able to make $2,000 profit within 1 year. Okay, so هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان. Okay, he is willing to give you the car as his nice Muslim neighbor, but he is asking for $12,000, $2,000 difference that he is definitely able to make within 1 year if he has chosen to sell that car $10,000 cash money to somebody else. So he can ask for $2,000 extra. Okay, you know what? He can tell you, listen, this car is for, even if he's Muhammad Abdullah, not John Smith, like a Muslim guy like you, he can tell you, listen, this car is for $10,000 cash, $12,000 for 1 year, $13,000 for 2 years, $14,000 until tomorrow morning. He can give you like unlimited options. As long as you are still within the negotiation stage, you should be good. Okay, once you close, that's it. Once you pick and choose one option and you close, you sign, oh, this car is for $10,000 cash, then that's it. The price is locked. It cannot be increased, cannot be decreased. Or you know what? This car is for $12,000, 1 year installment. Okay, the price is locked. It cannot be increased, it cannot be decreased, right? So owner finance with interest is not an interest. And this scenario actually is halal, while the other scenario is not. If you have decided to go with Bank of America, right? You borrowed $10,000 and you gave it to John Smith. You took the car and you paid Bank of America $12,000 within 1 year. Outcome result is the same. Within 1 year, you purchased a car and you paid how much? $12,000. But the first scenario is halal because there was no loan agreement to start with. There was no loan in between. While the second scenario is not halal because you have borrowed money from a third party. Does it make sense? طيب. Let me skip the penalty clause because of the time. So as you see here, the Islamic finance is all about risk sharing. Is about risk sharing. Okay, talking about mortgage, right? The proper way is to make sure that the bank either purchases the house, okay, spot sale for $1 million, and then the bank can sell you the car back. They call it credit sale installment for whatever markup that he is looking for. That would be fine. In this case, the bank is not lending you money. The bank actually is selling you a commodity, selling you a house. Okay, and we just established a rule that it is okay to have two different prices for the same commodity based on the payment agreement. If it is a spot sale, $10,000. Remember, John Smith, $10,000. If it is an installment, $12,000. That would be fine. So each and every single mode of finance, right, has to involve certain amount of risk and liability taken by whom? By the financier, in order for him or her to justify the profit that he's asking for. And we are not making up rules here, by the way. I mean, this is the exact statement of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, right? قال صلى الله عليه وسلم الخراج بالضمان وهذا من جوامع كلمه عليه الصلاة والسلام. الخراج بالضمان. Profit follows liability. Which means that if you want to make a profit, أهلا وسهلا, we would love to see you flourishing and making money, right? But you need to do it the halal way. You need to take the risk that justifies the profit that you are looking for. الخراج بالضمان والغنم بالغرم, right? الغنم بالغرم. الغنم is the, like, you know, the liability should be connected with the profit. You want to take a profit, you take a liability. It's almost the same meaning. الغنم بالغرم والخراج بالضمان. Each and every single mode of finance has to like prove to have a certain amount of liability that is sufficient enough to justify the profit that the financier actually is looking for. Whether it is a mudaraba, the one that I mentioned in the, like early in the first part of my presentation, okay, when you give money to a car dealership and you ask for a certain percentage of the net profit of the business. Still remember that? That's the mudaraba. Musharaka, murabaha, ijar. Each and every single one of those different modes of finance has to involve a certain amount actually of risk. If that risk is not proven, then that particular contract is not a halal one. Okay. For example, musharaka one, which is a partnership or declining partnership, right? If it is proven that the company who is offering the musharaka is not taking any liability period, any risk period, that particular contract is not halal. Musharaka is still halal, but the contract, like the application itself, is not a halal one. Like difference between Islam and Muslims nowadays. Islam is a perfect way of life. Muslims are not that perfect, right? So that's the mudaraba, musharaka, and so on and so forth. طيب. Let's take a very quick example here to show you the difference between haram and halal. Okay, and maybe like the most interesting example is the mortgage one, right? Someone wants to mortgage a house in a halal way, and the other one, you know what? We have two different brothers here. We have Mahmoud and we have Sami. تامر ولا تامر؟ تامر بالتاء. منين جايب سامر؟ بتلخبطني مع الناس. بقول لك تامر مش سامر. So we have Tamir and we have Mahmoud. Just imagine for for discussion purposes that we do have a very genuine, very sound, very authentic Islamic finance practice, which is unfortunately not the case nowadays. There is no authentic Islamic finance nowadays. I'm just making it clear. Just for discussion, for education purposes. Tamer decided to go with an Islamic mortgage company, right? And Mahmoud decided to go with a traditional mortgage company. They both, gentlemen, were approved for $1 million. And they have to pay $1.2 million within the next 30 years. Okay? Someone actually does not know what's going on, like passing by, has no idea of what's going on, would say, well, what is the difference? Okay? Tamer and Mahmoud, each one of them has borrowed $1 million, and he has to pay it back $1.2 million within the next 30 years. Is that correct? What is the difference? That's a very good question, and a very innocent question. And this kind of confusion, by the way, is not new. Okay? A lot of people, even during the revelation of the Quran, okay, were having the exact confusion. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَالُوا. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَالُوا. Some people said, إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ مثل الربا وأحل الله البيع حرم الربا. Some people said that sale agreement is equivalent to loan agreement, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did permit the sale agreement and did prohibit the loan agreement. Now, to implement that very particular ayah on Tamer and Mahmoud, what's the difference between Tamer, the Islamic mortgage company one, and Mahmoud, the classical traditional riba based one? That inshallah will be our discussion right after Salat al-Isha inshallah. So let's break for Salat al-Isha and stay tuned, stay around. We'll continue inshallah. Barakallah fi. And I did pray Isha, by the way, so you can just...
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. استحضروا عظمة الله في قلوبكم وصلوا صلاة مودع. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. يقلب الله الليل والنهار إن في ذلك لعبرة لأولي الأبصار. والله خلق كل دابة من ماء فمنهم من يمشي على بطنه ومنهم من يمشي على رجلين ومنهم من يمشي على أربع يخلق الله ما يشاء إن الله على كل شيء قدير. لقد أنزلنا آيات مبينات والله يهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. ويقولون آمنا بالله وبالرسول وأطعنا ثم يتولى فريق منهم من بعد ذلك وما أولئك بالمؤمنين. وإذا دعوا إلى الله ورسوله ليحكم بينهم إذا فريق منهم معرضون وإن يكن لهم الحق يأتوا إليه مذعنين أفي قلوبهم مرض أم ارتابوا أم يخافون أن يحيف الله عليهم ورسوله أم يخافون أن يحيف الله عليهم ورسوله بل أولئك هم الظالمون. إنما كان قول المؤمنين إذا دعوا إلى الله ورسوله ليحكم بينهم أن يقولوا سمعنا وأطعنا وأولئك هم المفلحون. ومن يطع الله ورسوله ويخشى الله ويتقه فأولئك هم الفائزون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. وأقسموا بالله جهد أيمانهم لئن أمرتهم ليخرجن قل لا تقسموا طاعة معروفة إن الله خبير بما تعملون قل أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول فإن تولوا فإنما عليه ما حمل وعليكم ما حملتم وإن تطيعوه تهتدوا وما على الرسول إلا البلاغ المبين وعد الله الذين آمنوا منكم وعملوا الصالحات ليستخلفنهم في الأرض كما استخلف الذين من قبلهم وليمكنن لهم دينهم الذي ارتضى وليبدلنهم من بعد خوفهم أمنا يعبدونني لا يشركون بي شيئا ومن كفر بعد ذلك فأولئك هم الفاسقون وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأطيعوا الرسول لعلكم ترحمون لا تحسبن الذين كفروا معجزين في الأرض ومأواهم النار ولبئس المصير الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين اللهم انصر دينك وكتابك وعبادك الصالحين اللهم انصر من نصر الدين واخذل من خذل المسلمين اللهم انصر إخواننا المسلمين المستضعفين المجاهدين في سبيلك في كل مكان فوق كل أرض وتحت كل سماء في بيت المقدس وأكناف بيت المقدس في غزة العزة يا رب العالمين اللهم اجعل لهم من كل هم فرجا ومن كل كرب وضيق وبلاء مخرجا اللهم استر عوراتهم وآمن روعاتهم واحفظهم وأهليهم من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم وعن أيمانهم وعن شمائلهم ومن فوقهم، ونعيذهم بعظمتك من أن يغتالوا من تحتهم. اللهم عليك بأعدائك وأعدائهم فإنهم لا يعجزونك. اللهم إنك تعلم أنهم قد طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد، فصب عليهم يا ربنا سوط عذاب، إنك يا ربنا لبالمرصاد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We will continue after Sunnah inshallah with the Dr. Ma'an Likhta. It's a good opportunity to have him here, and it's a good advantage. We will take this advantage for knowing more about finance or Islamic finance. Be patient, and if you can take this advantage, just stay after Sunnah inshallah.
Just a reminder, inshallah, that this Monday I shall be at 8:45 p.m. and next Thursday will be a fasting day for the community, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
I should be leaving.
نعم نعم. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah wa ba'd. For those brothers and sisters who did not attend the khutbah today, I was the khatib. I did the first and the second khutbah, and the theme of the khutbah was about the importance of supplying the community at large with homegrown Islamic scholars. And then I did introduce Guidance College, the Islamic university that I represent, which is, by the way, different from Guidance Residential. Guidance Residential is a mortgage company. Guidance College is a degree granting institute. I told the audience today that Alhamdulillah we have been operating since 2012, and Alhamdulillah the college or the university is growing tremendously. We got it fully accredited by ASIC, one of the most prestigious accreditation bodies in the United Kingdom, and we are working diligently to get it accredited in the USA, inshallah, here with one of the gatekeepers of the U.S. Department of Education, called the Middle State Commission of Higher Education. So inshallah, yani within, I would say, within 2 years from now, you will be hearing the very good news that Guidance College became the very first Islamic online university fully accredited in the USA. I told the brothers and sisters today that the tuition fees that we charge is to the minimum. It's only $10,000 for the bachelor's degree in Islamic studies, which is nothing. And on top of that, we offer in-house financial aid. We do have a program for the needy individuals, and a good percentage of our students, alhamdulillah, are new converts to Islam. Brothers and sisters who accepted Islam recently, they find it hard actually to secure the $10,000 because of being stranded by their family members or by the community at large because of being converts to Islam. So alhamdulillah, we offer them in-house financial aid. Right? We did not in the past, we do not in the present, and inshallah we will not in the future deny the application of any student because he or she cannot afford paying the tuition fees. We are not making money from the tuition fees. I mean, 10,000 for the bachelor's degree is nothing. Rather, we just turn to our community and tell them, listen, we are acting on your behalf. We serve the community on behalf on behalf of the community at large. Can you please support us having more fund to secure more scholarship and more financial aid for those students who are in need for your financial support? Guidance College is a 501c non-for-profit organization, so your donation is tax deductible. And Guidance College is an eligible zakah recipient under the category of al-fuqara wal-masakeen. Under the category of al-fuqara wal-masakeen, you can prepay zakat al-mal from now. Under the category of al-mu'allafati qulubuhum, new converts to Islam, you can pay zakat al-mal. We did receive a reasonable response during Salat al-Jum'ah, but maybe people were in rush. So do you think now maybe we have more time and you are more relaxed? Do you think we can sponsor at least maybe 1 or 2 students? I will take maybe 1 or 2 minutes only. Anyone inshallah who's willing to make it happen, just make a pledge. You don't have to pay it now, you can make an installment, and I promise no interest. Even if you want to go even if you go installment, I will not charge you extra. Anyone who is willing inshallah to make it happen, sponsoring a student for bachelor's degree, $10,000 from zakat al-mal, you can prepay zakat al-mal from now, or maybe 2 donors with 5,000 each. Anyone inshallah who's willing? How about maybe 4 donors, brothers and sisters, 2,500 each, so 4 donors will take care of one student. Is that possible? Can you squeeze your budget? Can you go extra miles? Can you give it a push and show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala your dedication and your love and your care about Islamic higher education in the USA? How about 1,000? Can we have maybe 10 hands with 1,000 each? Do you think that is doable? That's possible? Anyone inshallah who's willing to make it happen? From your zakah, you can prepay zakat al-mal from now. Is that doable? Is that possible? Say it once. طيب. If you already made a pledge and you did not fulfill your pledge, I do have a credit card machine here.
available. Please make sure that you fulfill your pledge. I do have pledge forms if you want to fill it out and make an installment, so whatever you can afford, or maybe you can go online to Guidance College and make your donation. Just make sure that you show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala your dedication and do whatever it takes to be, inshallah, a part of the success of this project. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless whatever you paid for His cause. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless whatever you kept for yourself. Barakallahu lakum fima anfaqtum wa baraka lakum fima abqaytum. No. And it could be zakatul mal. It could be like if you want to make it like, outside the zakah, like sadaqah or donation on behalf of yourself or behalf of somebody else. That would be an option as well. So the floor is yours, right? No pressure. Here's the credit card machine for those who want to donate and the pledge form. I was saying that for those two brothers, one of them who wants to go with the Islamic mortgage and the other one wants to with the conventional mortgage. We have Mahmoud. وراه صاحبك. Tamir. So Tamir actually and Mahmoud. Mahmoud, we said that both of them have been approved for $500,000 to be paid back $700,000 within the next 30 years. And someone, again, doesn't know what's going on would say, well, what is the difference? They both secured a home for $700,000 within the next 30 years. Here is the answer. What happened actually with Mahmoud is that he put down payment, maybe 3 or 5% down payment or equity. But from that point on, he became fully responsible for running and maintaining the house when it comes to maintenance and tax and insurance, any appreciation, any depreciation, any, natural disaster, any eminent domain if the property is taken by the government with no sufficient compensation. He is fully responsible for everything. And the mortgage company cares about the principal and the interest on top of it, period. They are not taking any risk whatsoever. What happened actually with Mahmoud, the one who went with the Islamic mortgage company, he did the same, by the way. He did put down the payment 3 or 5%. But what happened is that the mortgage company did purchase the property jointly with him. So they do not act as a lender because there is no loan to start with. They purchased the house jointly with him, and you can see their name with the title that they own the property jointly, like joint ownership between Mahmoud and the mortgage company. And based on that, based on the declining partnership, if the fair rental value of that house is $3,000, so they would ask him to pay $3,500, $3,000 for the rent and $500 to increase the equity. So he starts 3% equity, 97% the mortgage company, and then after 1 or 2 payments he becomes 4% ownership, 96, 5%, 95, 6%, 94. So that's why they call it declining partnership, right? So down the road he increases his equity and decreases the amount that he pays as a rent, all the way until he becomes the exclusive owner of the property. Through that long-term partnership between Mahmoud and the mortgage company, they have to be fully responsible proportionally, based on their percentage of ownership for the maintenance and for the tax and for the insurance. If the total amount paid to maintain the property was $10,000 at a certain year, and Mahmoud was owning 60%, and they were owning 40%, then he has to pay only $6,000 and they pay $4,000. Okay. After a few years, he decided to quit. He doesn't want to continue with this partnership. He was owning only 20% and they were owning 80%. Something happened, to the economy or to the housing industry. There was an appreciation of, let's say, $10,000 again. So he will be actually putting his own pocket $2,000 profit from the appreciation, upon the termination of the agreement, and they will take $8,000. Likewise, or vice versa, there was a depreciation, $10,000. He will be losing $2,000 and they will be losing $8,000. So there is an actual real partnership between Mahmoud and the mortgage company. Yes, the outcome result might be the same, but the mechanism and the way that the business or the functionality of the system is completely different. The Islamic mortgage company is standing fully responsible for the well-being of the property, and they pay out of pocket whatever it takes to fulfill their partnership. So that's the difference between Islamic as opposed to non-Islamic finance. I do have a lot of materials, but honestly, we're running out of time, and I need to be at the airport maybe around 10:15. So I'm going to just pause here and open the floor for a question and answer. And please accept my apology in advance if there is no time to answer all the questions because I need to catch my flight. Let me go from my right. حاضر إن شاء الله.
Those companies exist for the long?
What's that?
Those Islamic mortgage companies exist?
That's completely, Habibna, a different discussion. We do have some attempts in the USA, and they are not in the same level of Sharia compliance, right? يعني منهم ظالم لنفسه ومنهم مقتصد ومنهم سابق بالخيرات. Some of them are really like striving to come up with an acceptable mode of finance that is a Sharia compliant one up to a certain limit, and some of them actually do not. So there is no one size fits all. It depends on which company you have in mind. Then, now, طيب, if you can limit yourself to one question and just make it to the point. Yes, sir.
This your course is 101. Can we request it to be 103?
If you want to make it like 200 or 300, you need to invite me again, and I need to do another fundraising to do a 200. I'm just kidding. The solution, Sheikh, is to join Guidance College. We do have masters in Islamic economics and finance, and I would love to see as many brothers and sisters from this community joining this program. Even if you want to limit yourself to 1 year, we do have a certificate in Islamic finance, 1 year, 18 credit hours. You just take them and you will be a certified Islamic finance practitioner. Right? And if you want to extend, you take another year to make it masters in Islamic finance. We do have a lot of technical details that we need to tackle and go through. And a presentation like this one, presentation to go like 1 or 2 hours is definitely insufficient. So Jazakallah khair for raising this issue. Please go to guidancecollege.org and search for Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance. And by the way, you can be a non-degree student. You can just pick and choose certain classes if you want to like enhance your knowledge in a certain area. That would be fine. Even if you want to be an auditor or listener, like you take courses without fulfilling their requirements, just for listening and for learning purposes, that would be fine as well. نعم جزاك الله خير. طيب, one question, yes sir. That is acceptable because it is a zero APR. And bear in mind, Habibna, that's a yeah. He's asking if it is a car finance for zero APR, but there is a late fees. Late fees actually is unavoidable here. Each and every single contract does have a late fees. Good news here is that late fees actually could be avoided. Like if you commit yourself to paying on time every single month, you can avoid the late fees as long as the offer itself is a zero APR. Now the tricky part here is that some people think that if you want to finance Nissan, okay, through Nissan finance, like you purchase it from Nissan car dealership and you finance through Nissan, even if they ask for certain APR, that's halal. Well, it's not, because the Nissan car dealership is completely, like financially, administratively, legally speaking, completely independent from Nissan finance department, unless otherwise proven. And that's why if you borrow, like if you accept an offer with certain AP, 3, 4, 5%, that's an interest bearing, because you are borrowing money from a third party. So do not get confused. While the zero APR means an interest bearing loan إلى أجل مسمى, like for a certain period of time. It's not 100% halal option, but it is acceptable because this is like the prevailing system and the mainstream practice in the USA. And none of us actually does have $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 cash like to pay for a car. So this is, the system. And if you are almost positive that you can afford paying the monthly payment for the car, zero APR, go for it. Zero APR means that if you default, you pay interest. But if you pay on time, there is no interest. Am I correct? No. طيب. One question, yes sir.
سؤالي بخصوص الكريدت كارد، هل هي حلال ام حرام؟ بخصوص مشان الكاش باك، فاذا الكريدت كارد انه الاصل فيها انه انت العقد اصلا بيجبرك لو انت ما سددت حيصير عليك انترست، فالعقد يعني ما اعرف اذا هو حلال ولا حرام باطل ام لا.
Is using credit card halal or not? Brief.
على اساسه الكاش باك هل هو حلال اذا هو الاصل انه الكريدت كارد حلال ولا حرام؟
طيب.
كيف الكاش باك؟
Yeah, sure. The brief answer is that يعني الحرام في شريعتنا على ضربين. Is using credit card haram or halal? Using credit card. So the answer is that الحرام في شريعتنا على ضربين. هناك أمر محرم لذاته تحريم مقاصد وأمر محرم لغيره تحريم وسائل. Okay. Prohibited matters are of two different categories. Okay. Some of them are prohibited for themselves by themselves, and some of them are prohibited because of their potential consequences. Because of their potential consequences. Scholars said that whatever is prohibited for itself by itself cannot be permitted unless there is a necessity. While whatever is prohibited because of its potential consequence might lead you to commit a haram would be permitted based on need. يعني الحرام لذاته تبيحه الضرورة والحرام لغيره تبيحه الحاجة. Now my question to you, if you hold a credit card, if you have a credit card and you avoid using your credit card for cash withdrawal from any ATM machine outside, and you limit yourself to purchasing items and to paying bills, and you pay the outstanding balance, the monthly statement every single month in full before the due date, will you be paying any interest? The answer is no. So riba is avoidable, and that's why riba in a credit card is haramun لغيره تحريم وسائل. It's prohibited because of its potential consequences. Now, القواعد العامة للشريعة, the general objectives here is that if something is prohibited because of its potential consequences, and there is a general public need for it, then it could be permitted because there is a need for it, and the riba actually is avoidable, which is the case when it comes to using credit card. If you are living in Syria or in Jordan, Algeria, or in Saudi Arabia, okay, using credit card would be prohibited because the finance system and the monetary system is still a basic one. Like people until today use like bills and cash money. In the USA, it's completely different discussion. Certain points of sale, certain transactions cannot be done without having credit card. Cash money is not accepted. Debit card is not. Personal check is not. You have to have a credit card. So there is a public and general need from one side, and riba is avoidable from the other side, and that's why using credit card in this society actually is permissible as long as you know your limits very well and you stay away from any transaction that causes you to pay interest. I cannot take more questions. I need to move on. تفضل يا شيخ. Well, if a credit card حبيبنا is permissible, then the cashback is permissible. يا سيدي خذ الكاش باك واعطيه اياه، انا باخذه حياة الله.
اذا الحاجه انت بطاقه واحده بس اذا صارت انه صار حللناها فصرت تطلع انت اكثر من كاش باك عشان تاخذ الادفانتج تبعتها.
You can حبيبنا you can use a credit card as needed and just keep it simple. يعني we don't need to complicate the issue. تفضل.
Other guy, when he using the creded card, that go to him. He charge you 4%, but he give you 2% to you back, but he charge 4% the credit card.
Are you responsible for the source of money of the other party?
But because you earn the money from the same item, which is you earn the money 2%, on the same guy charge the other guy 4% because of you. You're the involved the second part. I give you coffee. I stole the coffee. Okay, leave it here. Okay. My last question is, you said that John Smith gave you card for $12,000. He doesn't ask you for APR because in the certain period in 1 year. Can you just give me just a minute to answer you because my time is limited and I get your point, wallah. Maybe I can put the question you cannot answer.
Sure.
But in the mortgage company, if the mortgage come through the bank, like some bank, they have their own mortgage company, gave it to you. He said, okay, you buy the house for $1 million. After 30 years, your house will be $3 million, but you gave me 3 or 4% after the 30-year period. So what is the difference between the John Smith, which is he doesn't mention the APR, but the other guy gave it 30 years, but you make the equity which your house is double. He may make the 3%. What is the difference?
Sheikh, you are like mixing maybe 3 or 4 different concepts together. So can you just relax? Can we get the Sheikh some coffee? I think my parent like him. Do you like some coffee or tea maybe? Fine. Let's keep it simple. You are not responsible, Islamic finance wise, haram and halal wise. You are not responsible
for the source of funding of the other party. You are responsible for the genuinity or the soundness or the permissibility of the deal that you sign or get involved with the other party. Okay? Prophet ﷺ did transact with the Jewish community in Medina, buying and selling back and forth. It was never ever reported that the Prophet ﷺ put any transaction on hold until he verified the source of income, source of money of the Jewish guy, providing that the Jews actually are the fathers and the mothers and the parents and the creators of riba. It was never ever reported that he said, where did you get your money from? To make it clear that as long as the deal itself is a halal one, you are not responsible for the source of funding of the other party. You work for corporate America. You get paid $7,000 because of your degree and your expertise and your work Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. Do you know that 30-40% of the money that you receive as an income, as a salary, that's coming from haram? Do you know that your company does have CD and does have saving account and haram? That money... You are not taking that money as a riba. You take that money as a salary. Okay? You have a master's or PhD in a certain field and you get contracted by the company because of your expertise and your work and your labor. Okay? You deserve $7,000 as a salary. Now, if that $7,000 is coming from the oil and gas, coming from mining, coming from computer science, coming from engineering, that's fine. If that money or certain part of the money is coming from a different sources, that's fine as well, because you are not taking that money as riba, you're taking it as a salary for the job that you do. Right? Imam al-Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi reported radiyallahu anhu, reported in his Sahih that the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam once stopped by the house of Barira. Barira radiyallahu anha was a slave girl of Aisha radiyallahu anha. She was cooking a meat, about to eat meat. Prophet ﷺ asked for Barira to serve him some of that meat. فَقِيلَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ مِنَ الصَّدَقَةِ. It was said to him that, Ya Rasulullah, this meat is, came as a charity, as a sadaqah, as a donation, providing that Prophet ﷺ was prohibited from eating sadaqah because of his very special status. قال هو لها صدقة ولنا هدية. هو لها صدقة ولنا هدية. When she received it, like when Barira received that meat, it was received as a donation. Now, when Barira served me, Ana Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that meat, it's not a sadaqah anymore. It became a hadiyah, right? And that's why the fuqaha concluded from this hadith, اختلاف الأسباب كاختلاف الأعيان. اختلاف, like if the reason behind owning the property or the asset or the money is changed, that would change the status of the money itself. If that money, like for example, I do have a saving account, la samhallah, or I lend people with interest, okay, and maybe 70-80% of my income is coming from interest, and you're a car dealer, okay, and I told you, Sheikh, I want to buy this car for $10,000. Do you have to ask me where did I get my money from? Here is your $10,000. Give me the car. Ma'as salam. So you are not responsible, the bottom line, you are not responsible for the source of funding of the other party. You are responsible for the soundness and the permissibility of the deal that you sign with the other party. طيب, تفضل.
You mentioned that collateral is halal, for example, giving $100 and I hold on to your phone in the meantime. Is there a haram type of collateral? Like if I gave you $100 and I asked for collateral like a gold ring or something that was worth much more than $100? Is there a type of collateral that's haram versus?
Very good example is the pawn shop business in the US, right? They ask for collateralized loan, but they charge you interest anyway, and that's the haram part of it.
But in terms of the items, it's fine?
Well, asking for a collateral that its value is way more than the loan itself would be fine. It's at the end of the day, it's just a rahan. And he is not entitled to take it. And even if you default, he's supposed to take whatever is equivalent to the loan that he gave you and you did not pay. Make sense? Yes, sir.
You mentioned one of the slides that divided and shares some haram or halal, but you didn't talk about what's in shares. You mentioned one of your slides about divided and shares.
Dividends.
Dividends and shares. You were supposed to talk about this haram or halal, but you didn't mention anything about it. Haram or halal?
Oh, okay. I got it. Okay. Well, I was just mentioning like some examples of certain charges
that you charge others or you receive by others. It was not meant to explain. But anyway, in order for you to trade in the stock market, you have to limit yourself to stocks only. So no bonds, no derivatives, no futures, no options. And those stocks have to belong to companies where their core business is a halal one. And there's a certain criteria. Debt asset ratio or capital, debt capital like ratio has to be to the minimum, right? Interest bearing investment has to be to the minimum, and interest income has to be to the minimum. Okay. Why I'm saying to the minimum? Because it is impossible to find like 100% halal stock. Every single stock actually in the stock market does have a certain percentage of haram. But your job is to strive to go with the minimum. Otherwise, everything will be haram. And the vast majority of our investment, whether IRA or 401k or whatever investment, is strongly connected to the stock market. So we have no choice but to deal with the stock market. And that's why, fuqaha actually came up with the criteria. That's reasonable enough. You just strive, you shop around for the most Sharia compliant, stocks to invest in. Now, again, join our masters in Islamic economics and finance. Inshallah, will make you happy. We'll learn more about all these details. That's your second question. That's riba. You ask a first question.
Related. How about the industry of the company, like technology company that may be involved with whatever, Israel or something, like Microsoft?
Let's say draw a line between supporting Israel, right, and the soundness, okay, and the permissibility of the business itself, right. Starbucks is a halal business as a business. But because of their position, political position supporting Israel, we're supposed to, boycott them, right? So I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm here to talk about haram and halal from an Islamic finance perspective. If the core business is halal, right, and the aside business, haram, is to the minimum, then you can work for that company, and whatever you receive as a salary will still be halal because you receive it as a salary and not as otherwise. Even if the source of that money is coming from haram. Just keep it simple, yeah. Nothing? Yes, sir. I'm not sure if I get your point. Yeah, sorry. طيب تفضل شيخ. Yes, as I said, Guidance College is a purely online university, and it is a weekend and evening university. So no excuses. During the day you can just go to your college, to your job, your company, your business, do whatever you want. All the classes are offered after 6 p.m. Central Time, all the way to 9:30 p.m. or otherwise in the weekend. So alhamdulillah, we have made it very easy and very accessible, for people to seek Islamic knowledge. So do your best to diversify your experience and to study, those different disciplines that maybe you did not get the chance in the past to educate yourself about. Most of the courses are synchronous live, where you meet in person live presentation with the professor and other students, and some of them are asynchronous, like directed study. You just go to the recording, you watch it, you do the assignments, but still, even if it is asynchronous, you do have office hours live, where you meet, Zoom meeting with the professor to ask him or her questions. Yeah. No. طيب, I think we good to go. طيب, جزاكم الله خير, بارك الله فيكم, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك, نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Okay. Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Ma'an Miqdad. We was very happy to have you today, and we're looking forward to see you again here, inshallah. Thank you for your attendance today. Thank you very much.